speaking of wind power ordinances, it's one of the success stories of the Citizens Task Force on Wind Power, which is an umbrella organization, a coalition of local groups that have sprung up to fight this proliferation of industrial wind sites and other concerned people who see this scam for what it is. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we have been most successful with is local communities adopting restrictive wind power ordinances. And what they are saying there is that their quality of place is more important to them than the pittance of money that the wind industry offers as a bribe to come in and do business. And they're also saying...
Tell me how you really feel, Brad.
Well, it is. You know,
okay.
The typical wind power company comes in and you know, they spend years laying the groundwork. They go visit the local snowmobile club and give them $5,000 for a groomer machine for their trails, and it buys goodwill for them. They visit numerous meetings with town officials to try to set the stage for some sort of a deal before they go public with anything.
Right.
But the other thing about local wind power ordinances is that those are the communities that are saying there's not a single one of our residents in our community who are expendable. There is nobody who should have an industrial wind turbine with its noise annoyance problem, which leads to things like sleep deprivation, or even worse, the low-frequency sound waves that can actually be deleterious to people's health.
Well, let's talk about that. We have a wind turbine that's 389 feet high.
Yes.
And it's going, not all the time, we understand, right?
Right.
But when it does go, it's noisy.
It is.
And you've got open space there, or woods and mountains, etc. In other words, no city noise to mask it.
Correct.
So it's traveling far distances before it's being stopped by objects or other noise.
Correct.
And so when you go out into your backyard, you're hearing it.
That is absolutely correct.
How often do they have to hear this stuff, roughly? I'm sure it's different with each project.
It's different with each project. It varies on wind speed, the type of turbine that you're talking about. It varies with topography of the land.
Right.
And the weather patterns.
Right.
But generally speaking, you are absolutely correct when you're talking about how quiet background noise is.
Right.
Because these tend to go in very rural, unsettled areas, mm-hmm. or scarcely settled areas. And background noise, we had somebody in Lincoln who was the most meticulous record keeper you could possibly imagine. Mm-hmm. And she did records for an entire month of background noise at her home, where she knew that within a third of a mile she was going to have wind turbines. Mm-hmm. Her background noise consistently, regardless of the time of day, was somewhere between 12 and 18 decibels on the A scale, which measures audible noise.
Okay.
Well, at the time, the state's regulation was 45 decibels. Mm-hmm. To put that in perspective, depending on whose theory you use, noise doubles between 6 or 10 decibels. So if you have, let's say, 15 decibels as background noise, and 45 is allowable for operation of a wind turbine, then you're getting 3 doublings of the noise.
Mm-hmm. I see what you mean.
The other thing that happens with the wind turbines is that they give off low frequency noise, or or low-frequency sound waves. And low-frequency sound waves in an industrial setting are highly regulated by OSHA. You go into a manufacturing plant, and you will see people with protective headgear on.
Right.
And that is to try to protect them from low-frequency sound waves. There are some industries where people cannot work for more than a certain number of hours before they have to be away from low-frequency sound wave emitting machinery. But here we have a situation where somebody can have a wind turbine that is set up too close to their home, and they can actually feel in the viscera, in the tissue of their bodies, the effects of low-frequency sound waves. It's primarily in the cochlea of the ear, at least initially, but it's very real. And if that gets upset, then you have imbalance problems. You have problems with steadiness of gait. You have problems with nausea, headaches. Myself, I have been a victim of exposure to wind turbine-produced low-frequency sound waves. I have a quadruple heart bypass and have 2 stents in one of the bypasses that had collapsed. And I was doing photography. And just the time that I spent around a group of the turbines, I experienced classic angina symptoms.
Really?
I was fine hiking the short hike up this low ridge to get into where I was doing the photography. And I had tightness of breath, tightness in the chest, and shortness of breath, and pains in my chest. I hiked down with my daughter, who also got a headache during the same time we were there. And we drove away, and after we were away from the turbines, about 3 miles, we stopped on the side of the road. I did some photography of a cluster of white lady slippers, actually, which was much nicer to photograph than ugly industrial machines on the top of the beautiful ridges. But within an hour, all the angina was gone. So I have also spoken with other victims of low-frequency sound waves from wind turbines, and Dr. Michael Nissenbaum and his associates just had a peer-reviewed study that was published about the effects of the wind turbines on the health of people in Mars Hill and on Vinyl Haven. So this is a very real problem.
Well, on that note, you hang tight. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with more from Brad Blake on Mind Your Own Business Radio on News Talk WLOB. Don't go away. There's more. Mind Your Own Business Radio on News Talk WLOB. WLOBradio.com.
Mind your own business, Mr. Spock.
Managing is hard, but managing people doesn't have to be a struggle. Imagine having strong managers who confront problem employees and resolve tough issues. Imagine supervisors who motivate and engage their people, provide honest feedback, and continuously raise the standards and the bar. Through their customized management development program, Dacre & Associates can train your managers to excite their star performers, increase their level of performance, resolve tough challenges, and make managing easy. Learn more by calling Rick Dacre at 207-967-0837 or visit Dacre.com today. That's DACRI.com.
Back to business.
Commencing system check.
Mind Your Own Business Radio. Welcome back to Mind Your Own Business Radio on News Talk WLOB. I'm Debi Davis, and I'm here with Brad Blake. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How many major wind turbine projects do we have that are operational right now in the state of Maine?
We have 8 major ones, and then we have 2 small ones that are 3 turbines each, Beaver Ridge and Freedom, and the 3 turbines on Vinyl Haven.
I didn't know we had that many already. How many do we have on the drawing board, would you say, or in the process?
You know, that's a constantly moving number.
Is it?
Yes.
I don't like that answer, Brad.
No, that's not an answer I want to give. We have a couple that are in different processes.
Are they large?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Every one of them is large. It's such a huge investment that you kind of need the economy of scale. You know, the cost of going in and blasting away a mountain or ridge top, leveling it, scalping it, sculpting it, putting a major road up the side of it to bring in immense turbine components. There's a certain amount of economy of scale that has to go to that. Plus the miles and miles of new power lines to connect it to the grid.
Right.
And so we have one that I think is particularly heinous that is called Saddleback Ridge in Carthage, that was approved by the DEP and has just had its argument to the Supreme Court, which unfortunately the way the wind law is written, if you want to appeal legally a decision of the DEP, or back when LURC was Land Use Regulation Commission was involved in citing, then you go directly to the state Supreme Court. You don't go to Superior Court like most other types of legal processes would do.
Wait. The law was written that way?
Yes. To expedite putting wind sites into Maine.
Oh boy!
Back in 2008, in the last few hours of what they call the short session of the legislature, the Baldacci administration and their cronies from the wind lobby got enacted LD 2283, which became Public Law 661, which implemented the recommendations of the Governor's Task Force on Windpower. And the reason why we call ourselves the Citizens Task Force on Windpower is to counter that. Because Governor Baldacci's Task Force on Windpower was a stacked deck with a predetermined outcome. That task force just went through the motions, bought some time while the legal experts drafted a law that was enacted without with the very minimum of public notice and discussion, and doesn't even have a roll call vote. It was just banged into law under the gavel in the tumultuous and frenetic ending of the short session of the legislature. I'm a pretty keen observer of politics in the state of Maine and public issues. I had no inkling that this was taking place in 2008.
Wow.
So if I didn't know about it, virtually nobody in the state knew what was going on. And I have actually talked to some legislators who voted on it and voted in favor of it, who say they had no idea what it meant or what the ramifications would be.
Oh, man.
But the law, in essence, exempts wind power in these expedited areas of the state of Maine, which in essence is about half of the state of Maine.